What's up, y'all? My name is Devontae, and I sacrificed my time so you don't have to. Man, why y'all get this man started again, bro? Like, every time y'all try to clap back at Eazy-E, y'all know how it's going to turn out because he has receipts. No matter what you say, there will always be a response to your answer because your answer is going to be trying to dive inside semantics. It's going to be a bunch of euphemisms. Whereas all Eric Bischoff has to do is just show receipts. No one has taken it to Vince McMahon like Eric Bischoff has. No one has beaten Vince McMahon like Eric Bischoff has. No one has been a legitimate competition and has been a legitimate threat to Vince McMahon's company like Eric Bischoff has. That's it. That's a done data. No matter what you say in regards to, whoa, our in-ring action is so much better, or this is better, or we have better fanfare, that doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, we can go tit for tat in regards of our opinions on what is good or what is bad, but at the end of the day, the metrics speak volumes, and Eric Bischoff will always have the numbers on his side. But apparently, Tony Khan wants to take a swing at the king again. You know what they say though, man? You take a swing at the king, you best not miss. So we're gonna take it from the top. I got the links down in the description box below. It starts off like this. Tony Khan asserts that AEW boasts better metrics or ticket metrics than WCW and its prime. Bruh. Okay, so let's read the article first and then we'll take it from the top. AEW president Tony Khan has a lot of passion for the world of professional wrestling, but that doesn't mean he hasn't done a lot of questionable things over the years. That said, he is proud of his company that has now made a claim that AEW's numbers are better than WCW's numbers. The AEW president has been at the helm of the company since day one and has been booking every single decision since then, for better or worse, mostly worse. Of course, many have compared AEW to WCW for a wide variety of reasons. It is a well-known fact that WCW dominated Monday Night Raw at one point for 83 weeks, and many believe WCW dropped the ball towards the last couple of years of its existence, essentially killing the promotion. Stop right there for a second. At least WCW can claim to have dropped a ball. AEW has not even yet picked up the damn ball. You know what? Continue on. Okay, let's just continue, okay? While speaking during the post-ROH Final Battle media scrum, AEW president Tony Khan talked about AEW's ticket sales numbers, where he claimed that AEW has done better numbers than WCW, in the mid-90s. Notice how he actually tries to... So by mid-90s, he can claim 94 or even 95. Let me see. Does he say... The numbers we're doing for our tickets are not only comparable to what WCW was doing in the mid-90s, but in many cases better. So our numbers are better per show than in WCW 94 and right on 96 and 95. Okay, but where in 96 and 95? See, Tony Khan does this all the time, bro. I love how he'll deliberately leave out context. When he says, notice how you said 94 and 95. Yeah, that was around the time when professional wrestling was in like a complete nadir. Like, they were horrible. It doesn't matter if you're WCW or WWE. You probably did better ticket sales than WWE in 94 or 95 for that, man. That's not a hard bar to settle for. What the fuck are you talking about? Now, when he says 96, I bet he means 96 right before the NWO. He says 96 but he won't say what portion of 96. Notice how he's so disingenuous. Many fans are unlikely to believe what Tony Khan had to say, as ticket sales for AEW have been decreasing over the past year, which is a major cause of concern for the company. Regardless, we'll have to see what Khan will do to improve AEW in the end. But I guarantee you, he's taking his peak numbers and he's putting that up against WCW in 94 and 95 when it was starting to pick up again, when you got to like the middle portion of 96 going forward. He's going to compare his peak numbers, most likely. I guarantee you he took the highest peak ticket sales numbers and he compared it to the lowest peak in WCW, because that's the 94-95 period. Come on, bro. He's taking that 94-95 period. I guarantee you, I bet my life, he picked that time period in particular, because that's when Hogan signed with WCW in the summer of 94. That's why. Notice, why didn't he say 93? Why didn't he say 92? Why didn't he say 91? Huh? Because he knew they didn't have legitimate stars at that point. He picked 94 as a time period because that's when Hogan signed there. And notice how he won't go into detail in regards to 96, because he knows if he says the complete and like the entire 96, he knows he's full of shit. He knows he's full of shit. Not to mention, you want to talk about ticket sales, buddy? Okay, fine. You can have that claim as far as, whoa, WCW didn't do better than us. Again, leaving out context, they didn't do better than us in 96, or in the early portions of 96, between 94 to 96 in the early portions. Okay, fine. So you can have that claim. Now let's talk about television numbers. Can we do that? Huh? Not to mention those ticket sales. Where are you going by? Are you going by attendance, or are we going by, actual quantity? Like, what are we talking about here? Because as far as quantity is considered, are we talking about quantity as far as how many tickets are sold, or quantity in terms of how much money was made off the tickets? Because did you take it to, I don't know, context like inflation? Did you do that, Tony? No, you most likely didn't do that, right? Or are you talking about how much money you charge for tickets overall? Are we doing that? And if we're talking about the actual quantity as far as how many tickets you sold in general, are we taking into context comps? Because, I mean, we're talking about the same company that did 2-for-1 sales at fucking restaurants not even a few months ago. So please miss me with that bullshit right there. But that's just me. That's just me talking. Let's see what the homie Eric Bischoff has to say in regards to this, because I know he got some few choice words for the homie Tony Khan, right? So let's go to this portion real quick. AEW is doing what they can to make a mark in the pro wrestling world, but live event ticket sales haven't been stellar. One recent remark that Tony Khan made really brought Eric Bischoff out of his shell to comment in a big way. Tony Khan made a comment about how AEW ticket sales are better than WCW, are better than what WCW did back in the day. That caught a lot of attention, especially from those who were around WCW. Yeah, because that's idiotic. Again, you can fool these 20-year-old AEW fanboy marks. You ain't fooling the person who was actually alive during the period. You're not fooling the person who was actually looking at the numbers as a teenager in the 2000s, right when they actually went away. You can fool these marks. You're not fooling me. During this 83 weeks podcast, Eric Bischoff spoke out about Tony Khan's recent claim. He questioned if Tony Khan was high when he made that. Okay, I see where this is going. Eric Bischoff says, "I've never heard so much meaningless bullshit in my life. This is not a press conference. This is, let me get up there and talk about how great I am and how great this company is and try to blow smoke up everybody's ass. The hardcore X and Twitter fanbase is going to suck it up, and they're going to be repeating it word for word. The problem is that there is nothing but air in all those comments. It's nonsense. Trying to compare AEW ticket sales to WCW in 1996, are you freaking high? Every week we do this show, we're covering WCW. We're talking about 18,000, 19,000, 17,000, 40,000 people for a TV show. Now, I'll stop him right there. That 40,000, he's been a little bit, deliberate there. Okay, now the 40,000 is in 98. I don't know where he got that 40,000 from. In regards to WCW, I can't remember them doing anything. Maybe they did the Georgia Dome. I don't remember them doing the Georgia Dome. Did they do a pay-per-view in the Georgia Dome in 96? The only time I remember them doing the Georgia Dome show was in 98 when Goldberg beat Hogan. That show did 40,000, but I don't remember no show in 86 doing 40,000. But that does take away from his other points as far as 18, 19, 17,000. Although I will say, if he did say something about the 40,000, I am kind of curious. I'll be a little bit, charitable, and I'll say, If you're willing to say that about the 40,000, what else are you willing to say about the other numbers? But we'll continue on, just for argument's sake. AEW is scaling down 10,000 seat arenas for 5,000 people, and they're praying that they get the walk-ups. Otherwise, they're gonna sell out. How can you make those statements and expect anybody to think you have any credibility whatsoever? Facts. That I will say. Absolutely facts. Because even if you want to say that Eric's being a little bit, disingenuous, a little bit manipulative with the numbers there with the 40,000, just take away from the fact that I guarantee you that there's no show right now AEW is doing currently that outdid any show in the latter half of 96. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about right there. But again, there's a reason why Tony Khan chose specifically 94, 95, and he was not deliberate in the context of 96. Because if you push back on that 96 year, he's going to probably say, well, in the early portions of 96. But he won't say that in the continuation of the argument that he's trying to present to the rest of the audience. Again, that's that disingenuous shit I'm talking about. We will have to see how AEW goes after this. They have certainly drummed up a lot of controversy, and that includes ticket sales. This subject is one that isn't likely to die down because the health of a pro wrestling company is greatly determined by how many fans they can pull into a venue. AEW may not or may have to start running smaller venues because they aren't filling them up at this point. WWE has to also start restricting AEW events for running the same buildings that they are. That hasn't helped AEW move any more tickets either. I mean, even WWE is just like, you know what? We don't even see y'all niggas anymore, bro. We kind of see y'all the same way how we seen TNA back in 2010. We thought to ourselves for a second, this might be a little bit of a threat, and then we recognized at the end of the day, oh, no, it's just another mark running a wrestling business. Oh, just another fanboy running a wrestling business. Okay, he's nothing to worry about. He actually thinks at the end of the day that these are two wrestling companies going head to head, not recognizing that, brother, you look at yourself as just specifically a wrestling company, whereas WWE sees themselves as a business. A business. You lose the war already when it comes to that mind game mentality bullshit. When you try to go into a competition with WWE and your mentality is, my wrestling company is better than your wrestling company. The minute you go into that whole little discussion via that type of contention, you lose the battle already each time. There's a reason why WWE didn't bother throwing anything at the wall. Maybe that one time when it came to NXT and loading up the card. But I think that was more so deliberately just to prove a point. People like to go back and say things like, well, Devontae, don't you understand at the end of the day that WWE views them as competition? I feel like that's kind of a misnomer. And I feel like I made that point also. But the more and more I think about it, I feel as if that was WWE just trying to assert dominance. Not more so like, hey, look, we're trying to compete with AEW in this time slot. I think maybe there's something to the notion of that, but I feel like it was more so them trying to assert dominance than actually proposing themselves as competition or pretending that AEW is in any kind of way competition. Again, I said it a couple of days ago and I've always touched on this point. Don't misconstrue the talking point in the actual narrative of competitor versus competition. AEW is a competitor to WWE. So is TNA. So is New Japan Pro Wrestling. So are other wrestling companies in the market. They're all competitors, okay? A mom and pop store technically is a competitor to a Walmart that happens to be in the same district or in the same county or in the same vicinity. That does not make them competition. There's a big difference. Look at me. I'm a small YouTuber any other day. Technically speaking, because I focus on professional wrestling, I am a competitor to wrestle culture. What culture, excuse me. They are competition to me. I mean, my audience watches What Culture. They are a competitor to my channel, no matter how big they are. That doesn't mean they're competition. We are nowhere near in the same league. They demolish me. They annihilate me. Annihilate. Big fucking difference. And I feel like Tony Khan and the rest of his sycophant ass fans kind of misconstrue that notion, and they like to put themselves on a pedestal and try to compare themselves to down-traditize the professional wrestling to bigger companies without fully taking into context what that company has done when they were actually big. Again, it's very manipulative. It's like saying, for an example, that a store is really slow at the moment and they're going up against another store that's really booming at the moment, or in the case of AEW, not booming, but they're standard. They're right there. They're subpar. They're just kind of toeing the line at the moment. But the toeing the line company wants to say, for an example, mom and pop store, toeing the line company, biggest store right now currently in the company. We were doing huge numbers compared to Walmart on its first day. Well, yeah, because it was Walmart on its first day. You're going to compare your peak numbers to Walmart on its first day? And what way does that not seem manipulative to anybody, huh? How about you compare your numbers now to Walmart when we're like, I don't know, after the first year? Are you willing to do that? No, you're not willing to do that. It's all narrative driven in the end of the day. And I don't blame Tony Khan for that. It's a way to make your company look bigger than what it really is. I don't blame any company for doing something like that. But for the people who don't know, let me be the ones to explain to you the context and the narrative of what Tony Khan is trying to push to you. And then you can decipher for your own being or for your own momentary lapse in judgment if you came into this whole thing thinking to yourself that AEW is in any way, shape, or form in any comparison to WCW at the heights of his career, or if AEW is in any way, shape, or form in comparison to WCW even when they signed Hogan. Let me just kind of bring you down a couple of notches, bring you back down to reality, and tell you what the fuck is really, really going on at the moment. And yeah, again, I looked at what Eric Bischoff is saying, and it kind of seems like he's manipulating a couple of numbers himself, but that still doesn't take away from the fact that AEW did the same thing also. So a response for a response, fighting fire with fire. Do your due diligence to try to figure out the numbers in itself, but let me be the first to tell you that even though the numbers may be a little bit wonky from both sides, I can fucking tell you without a shadow of a doubt, AEW was never and will never be on par with WCW during its heights or even during its regular run in 1997 or late 1996 and damn sure not in 98 and monumentally damn sure not in the early portions of 1999. And I can bet my ass on that, and that goes for the rest of the wrestling business. None of them are on par with WCW at the peak of its run, okay? At the peak of his run, it damn near put out of business WWE with Stone Cold Steve Austin on the roster. You do the math, and you tell me how that sounds compared to what AEW is currently doing at the moment. If you want fuller context, check out Eric Bischoff's 83 Weeks podcast. It's on YouTube. You can subscribe to his channel. As always, my name is Devontae. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Deuces, P. Ice.